Hello, I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. Today we're thinking about A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and I'm going to be providing you a summary to Stave 4, where we meet the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Okay, the first thing we need to do is just remember that the messages the ghosts have for Scrooge are also the messages that Dickens has for the reader. So the first ghost we meet is Jacob Marley's ghost in Stave 1 or Chapter 1, same. And he tells Scrooge that if he doesn't change, he's going to face the consequences in the afterlife. Then we meet the ghost of Christmas past, and that ghost shows Scrooge that when he was a kinder, more generous person, when he had family in his life, he was actually happier. And after that, we meet the ghost of Christmas present. He takes Scrooge to the house of the Cratchit family, and we see the suffering that their poverty causes, and that effectively shows Scrooge that to be kind and generous is the morally right thing to do and be. And then this ghost, the ghost of Christmas yet to come, Christmas future, again reminds Scrooge of the fact that if he doesn't change, he's going to face the consequences in his afterlife. This is a ghost that elicits fear of death in Scrooge. So we're going to think now about what happens in Stave 4. In front of you is an action trail for Stave 4. So the chapter starts with the ghost of Christmas yet to come standing before Scrooge. We actually end the chapter before with that spirit coming towards Scrooge, and that's how this chapter starts. And then at the end of the chapter, Scrooge at his gravestone is begging for another chance to live a changed and altered life. Now, can you think about what happens in between those moments? So what other key moments are there in the chapter? Feel free to pause here if you want to try and think about those yourself. Otherwise, we'll move on now and think about exactly what happens in Stave 4. So the next thing that happens, Scrooge is accosted by the ghost of Christmas yet to come, and then he's taken into the city, and there's some businessmen, some of whom are known to Scrooge, who are speaking about somebody who's died, and they're talking about whether or not to go to the funeral, and it's a triviality to them. They're sort of, it comes up in conversation in the same sort of manner as the weather does. It's of no consequence, and they talk about whether or not they're going to attend. We can work out that the dead man is Scrooge, but he's yet to put the clues together. Then we're taken to Old Joe's shop. He's somebody who is buying the possessions that have been taken from this person's house, the dead man. So all sorts of things are put out on the floor, and he writes on a chalkboard the amount of money that he's going to give to the people who've brought these things into him. Everything's been taken, even the shirt off his back. So this dead man has had the shirt taken off him to be sold on. So there's no respect for this person that's died, and it's a really miserable scene. After that, Scrooge asks to be shown somebody who's been affected positively by this person's death. He wants to see some tenderness associated with this person's passing, and a couple are relieved to hear that their debt to this person is being transferred, and there couldn't be a more merciless person. So there is some happiness associated with this person's passing. And then we're taken to the house of the Cratchits again, and it's a completely contrasting scene. When the ghost of Christmas present takes Scrooge into the Cratchits' house, it is full of warmth and happiness and noise, and it is a place of silence and sadness now because Tiny Tim is dead and is awaiting his burial. He's there at home. The body of Tiny Tim, I think, is upstairs, and the family talk about how much he meant to them all. So it's a really tender, sad moment that Scrooge is shown. And then right at the end, Scrooge is taken to his graveside. He sees his tombstone and realises that he was the man in question, and he begs for another chance to live an altered life. That takes us to quotes to know for Stave 4. So the first two are actually from the end of Stave 3, but this ghost comes towards Scrooge like a mist. That's important to know, and mists are things that we associate with darkness and death and mystery, all that sort of stuff. And this ghost is also draped and hooded. So we've got allusions to death here in the Grim Reaper and all that sort of business, but also execution as well. Executioners would be draped and hooded. Perhaps this is eliciting ideas of punishment as well. And the people that speak about the dead man refer to him as Old Scratch. It's an archaic and old-fashioned term for the devil, and that's got, again, allusions to punishment and sin and hell, but it also shows the fact that Scrooge is completely disrespected after his death. The noisy little Cratchit children were as still as statues. And the idea of being a statue has got, there's a permanency about the impact of Tiny Tim's death upon the whole family. It isn't just Tiny Tim that's passed away. In many ways, all of the happiness that we associate with the Cratchits has also passed with him. Scrooge says, if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Well, the ends we've seen are, the ends for families like the Cratchits, and Scrooge has come to realise that he can completely change the lives of those around him by being more generous. And he says, I yet may change these shadows that you've shown me by an altered life. And remember that light and darkness are key motifs in the novella. Here's a wonderful bit of contextual analysis for you to take away. Dickens' family were unable to pay their creditors. They were indebted to somebody similar to Scrooge when he was a child, and they were sent to Marshalsea debtors' prison because they couldn't pay their debts. In Stave 4, a couple await their financial ruin with their children at home with them, and Dickens would have experienced his parents and his family going through that. So he had first-hand experiences of poverty, and they influenced his writing, and he wanted to change the way the middle classes viewed the working poor. If you want to take your revision further, can you recall the major events of Stave 4? Can you explain what messages about change each of the ghosts has for Scrooge? And how many of the key quotes can you recall? Revisit them and make flashcards, or just watch again and test yourself at the end. Okay, check out the other videos on my channel. I'll continue to add content, and feel free to ask for something you'd like to see me cover in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and keep revising.